What's up, my YouTube family? It's your girl Sandy coming at you with another video. Okay, so I voted last Tuesday, right? Yeah, I thought it was going to be a big issue, but it really kind of wasn't. Everybody was like, the news, not everybody, the news. They were hyping it up like it was going to be big trouble and people were going to be watching us over our shoulder and such things as that. So it kind of scared me away from going to vote. But so that morning, my daughter calls me up and she says, "Are you gonna vote?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go down there because I'm scared." She's like, "I've been down there and back. It's nothing going on. Let me come pick you up and let's go vote." So we did just that, and it was going pretty good until I got into because we got in like boom, it was like four people in front of us, and they were already voting at the time. So they kind of got me on in. It was no people rioting and no Trump supporters trying to run you down or anything like that. It was really, really smooth going into the place. Then when I got into the voting place, I usually do an absentee ballot because I'm not in town, during that time. But these COVID days, I'm here, so I didn't have my absentee ballot with me. So they made me do something called a provisional, provisional ballot. Yeah, it was a provisional ballot. So I did that. But here it comes. They asked me for the ID, which I had, so I didn't have a problem with that. So, yeah, a bunch of college kids up there. So I gave the guy my ID because he couldn't find my name or address on any of the papers that they had there. So I gave him my ID, my address, my name, and he looked at the ID. Here we go again, that ID. He looked at my ID. He goes, "Hey, that's a pretty good picture." And of course, I'm thank you. And I go on, and he gives me my provisional ballot and tells me how to fill it out, bring it back up. He'll seal it, da da da, go drop it over there. I was like, okay, so I did all of that. The point is, this ID that I took, um, it's me, of course, but the thing about it is, it's me, and it's really a question of, you have to take your ID every 4 years. And prior to that, the ID picture that I took, it was awful, 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 and I was stuck with it for 4 years. And everywhere I went, people were like, ugh, because they got me at a bad angle. So I said, this particular time, which was like 3 years ago, I had to take an ID, and I said, this time I'm gonna make sure I'm well rested, and I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna take my time, do my hair, do my makeup, and I'm going to have a good day and a good morning. And I'm going there and I'm gonna take that ID picture. And this ID picture is gonna be fabulous. And I went there and I took my ID at the DMV, and when I got it back, indeed it was. I have to say so myself. It was snap, snap, fabulous. So I'm thinking to myself, this ID that I have, it actually makes things a little tad easier for me because we're such a society that we base things on shallow things such as looks. So this ID, since I spruced myself up and I looked not so like I dread going to the DMV, but I dress as if I'm happy going to the DMV, and I'm going to take a photo. That's the way I presented this myself in this ID setting. Like, okay, I'm going to take a regular portrait by a low tier photographer. And that's just the way I looked at it. And I took my ID and it came out really, really well. But I noticed that this ID, it makes people just a little bit nicer, a little bit kinder, a little bit friendlier. Uh, um, the interaction is a little bit less hostile than if it was a messed up ID picture. Don't ask me why. It's just that way. It's just that way because of society. I think it is, to where you show them your ID, and if it's a good ID, you get some form of privileges. I don't know if I'm conveying this right to make you guys understand, but it is a real thing. They base things upon people's looks in the real world and on YouTube, and I'm kind of just figuring it out, kind of going along with it. Like, okay, is this the way it is? But I think that's the way it is. Anyway, until the next time, please like, share, subscribe, and really take my advice for it. Dress up a little bit as if you're going to take a portrait for your ID. And I think it'll come out much nicer. Anyway, until the next time, like I said, like, share, subscribe, and as always, leave a comment. Toodles. I hate this part. Toodles.